Leaders are remembered, be they loved or feared. Alone they are inscribed on the pages of history. But what of the men and women whose hands build their monuments and whose blood stains their battlefields? The people who, against all odds, wield the power to reshape history. People in power at this time on AlJazeera.
From local traders to international finance, it's commerce that makes the world go round. For global companies and developing markets, communication is the currency, and information is the most valuable commodity. Counting the cost at this time on AlJazeera.
Now there's one place to discover the whole story, aljazeera.net/English.
We bring you the story from every side and every angle. aljazeera.net/English.
Top stories on Al Jazeera. Funerals have been held for rebel fighters who were killed defending the Breka oil terminal in eastern Libya. Anti-Gaddafi groups say they've now cleared the area of government forces. The US president has his strongest words yet for Libyan leader Muammar Gaddafi, saying the whole world is outraged by his actions. And in Côte d'Ivoire, security forces stand accused of killing at least 6 women who are marching against incumbent President Laurent Gbagbo. Meanwhile, the government has cut vital supplies of electricity and water to opposition strongholds in the north. Well, returning to Libya, and as we mentioned earlier, many migrant workers are scrambling to flee the country, including the capital. But the official picture being painted from Tripoli is one of calm and of life returning to normal. Our correspondent Anita McNaught is in Tripoli and has been allowed limited access by the Libyan government to film this report.
Libyan authorities, keen to demonstrate that Tripoli is not a war zone, invited our Al Jazeera crew onto a helicopter usually reserved for tracking illegal migrants from Africa. Declaring no areas in Tripoli off limits for this flight, our government escort showed us the former People's Assembly building, burnt over a week ago in an early morning riot that has, so far, not been repeated. Across the city on the day we flew, no street battles, no riot police, and in Libya's equivalent of Tahrir Square, Green Square, just a small government-sponsored gathering provides free entertainment around the clock. Whatever the previous inroads made into the city by the rebels, Tripoli is now a quiet place. But the damage has been done. Tripoli is also paralyzed from the loss of the people who used to work here. The port is at a standstill. Workers, skilled and unskilled, have fled. And nearby, crowds are still gathering on the docks to board a boat to take them away. At street level in the district of Tajoura, this mobile phone company office is still smouldering after it was torched during the anti-Gaddafi protests. Along the entire street, anti-Gaddafi slogans have been painted over, but the shops remain shut. But Muammar Gaddafi's son, Saiful Islam, says there's no reason for concern.
Come on, if they have 2 fires in one house or 2 buildings, maybe, of course, maybe 100 fires. Does it mean that there is everything is collapsed?
Saiful Islam also says that migrant workers are already asking to come back. But at Tripoli airport, no signs that these hundreds of Egyptians camped in squalor are changing their minds about wanting to leave. Anita McNaught, Al Jazeera, Tripoli.
As US President Barack Obama calls for Muammar Gaddafi to leave, one Libyan exile in the United States is waiting for the moment to go home. For more, let's go back to Daljit in Washington. Daljit?
Imran, thanks very much. Well, Masood Salem escaped Libya after being jailed for speaking out against the regime. Here he is, in his own words, talking about wanting to leave his successful business behind after living in exile for more than 30 years.
Hi, I'm Masood Salem, the owner of Salem Market in Pittsburgh. I have some family in Tripoli. We have Libyan people pro Gaddafi in every city, and they report for Gaddafi. I stood up and I told him this is not right, and what you're saying is not good. I guess from that time, I know I'm going to jail. I came to the United States November 6, 77. Pittsburgh, yeah. All my life in Pittsburgh. After that, we tried to look for fresh meat and halal meat. The first year, could not find where we can slaughter our own. So I have friends, they ask me why you don't open a butcher shop. Opening store is not easy. We have with $6,500. Now we have two stores.
We're going to tell him this is our #1 love guy.
Yeah, tell me, did you play with the Steeler? I said, no. Some people, they're afraid to say I'm Libyan. I always say I'm proud of my country, Libya. Always in my mind, I'm going back. I'd like to die in Libya. I'd like to see my people there. All of them every time when you're coming. Now I told them when the revolution starts, I will be there after Ramadan, inshallah.
Now, President Obama's first comments on Libya in more than a week came during a news conference with Mexico's President Felipe Calderón. The two leaders talked about their long-standing and bloody battle against Mexico's drug cartels. The meeting happened amid tension over the recent killing of a U.S. immigration agent in northern Mexico by a suspected cartel leader. Obama acknowledged that the United States must stem the flow of cash and guns to Mexico that have aided the cartels.
Whether they live in Texas or Tijuana, our people have a right to be safe in their communities. So we are continuing to speed up the delivery of equipment and training that our Mexican partners need to keep up this fight. As President Calderón cracks down on money laundering in Mexico, we're putting unprecedented pressure on cartels and their finances here in the United States.
In terms of the border, both President Obama and I agree that we must turn this area into the land of opportunities and not of conflict.
Well, according to U.S. authorities, more than 60,000 American guns have been recovered in Mexico over the past 4 years. Drug violence has killed at least 34,000 Mexicans since 2006. And according to the U.S. government, Mexican drug gangs make between $13 and $48 billion a year from the United States. The fight against the drug war, the U.S. government instituted a plan known as the Merida Initiative, including $1.4 billion worth of assistance to Mexican law enforcement. Well, let's get a little bit more on this story, and for that I'm joined by Carlos Hidalgo, who is the Latin America Project Coordinator at the Cato Institute, which is a free market think tank based here in Washington, D.C. Mr. Hidalgo, thank you very much for joining us here on Al Jazeera.